Mahlobo.
Um,
Yes, Mahlobo.
yes, Mkas.
Yes, yes, yeah. Maybe I will also assist. I will indicate when the MEC is in the house.
Okay.
So yeah, so that yeah, the HOD, both HOD and MEC, I will assist you to indicate.
Just give us a signal.
Yes, the signal whether it's joined. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Linda, are we now live? So
let me see.
okay, thanks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this UN Food System Dialogue, specifically for the province of KZN. We'll be starting in the next 2 or 3 minutes. We just want to let our principals to join us and also let our stakeholders to join in. Some are just trying to join and they're being assisted by the IT. We'll start in no time. Thank you. May I just check with my colleagues in the province? I see Ubabus Bande has joined us. Ingawe Umhlanisho MEC has also joined us, so we can proceed.
Dr. Dombela?
Yes, Mkas.
Yeah, the HOD of the Department of Agriculture in KZN has joined the meeting. Maybe we can proceed. Thank you very much.
Well, the MEC has joined, so when we bring the HOD on stage, because he will be followed by the MEC, or we can just give another minute or so to ensure we have all the principals.
I think maybe if we can start the program, then we will hand over to our HOD.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning and a warm welcome to the Provincial Dialogue on the Food System. My name is Fiso Ntombela is my surname. I work for the South African government stationed at the National Agricultural Marketing Council, which is the agency of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, advising the Minister on agricultural marketing and policy issues. I will be your moderator this morning, and I would like to once again welcome you all and thank you for making time to join us in this provincial dialogue. The provincial dialogue is actually hosted under the theme of leveraging on public-private partnership towards scaling up South African food systems and exactly finding solutions in South Africa food system and building it during and beyond the COVID-19, as we know that our South African shores were devastated by the descendants of the COVID pandemic, which has impacted the way we produce our food, the way we consume, distribute, and the way we actually behave in our household. And that has made it very difficult in the food system that was already vulnerable in terms of external shocks. We have seen in the past 3 years, and in some part of our country, even a prolonged to 5 years, where the drier conditions have made it difficult to ensure that we continue producing food in the manner that is affordable and accessible by all those that wants to have access to food. As a result of that and the pandemic, we have seen our food system making sure that it's unable to cater for all the South Africans. Even before the pandemic, we had 1 in every 4th person unable to afford food on a daily basis. We do know now with the latest statistics that about 387,000 households have fallen below the poverty line. That being, South African food system has also shown that it's one of the most resilient and probably most developed and industrialized in the African continent. And the Kwazulu-Natal Province is one of those that is leading ahead in terms of ensuring that we have the modernized food system that is diverse, adaptable, and be able to withstand any shocks. It is reason today that in this dialogue, the province has also chosen to specifically focus on the means and solutions of how to ensure that we have access, and we have expanded access in not only just in food, but in access in nutritious food, so that we have a balanced diet. Our National Minister, Mutoko Titiza, on the 11th of June, when she launched this dialogue, and she asked every stakeholder in the country that they must be heard their voice, so that we not only just build up new food system, but we build new food system and we come up with the solution that are talking into the realities and live experience of each and every South African across every corner of the country. So that when South Africa go and present this South African position and at the UN and international platform, it is a representative of every South African. In so doing, she encouraged every stakeholder to work hand in hand between the private sector, and government, including our communities, as well as the farmers, to ensure that we have as much diverse voices in this building. And we are having this provincial dialogue in the time when this sixth administration is in the planning phase of having a blueprint strategy of how do we develop our sector towards the NDP goals of 2030, which coincide with also South African international commitments at the UN as part of delivering on our sustainable development goals. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start now welcoming our farmers, which are people that work on a daily basis to ensure that we have a food on our table. I would like to also welcome and acknowledge the role and the importance contribution that our farm workers and communities in where this operation happens that ensure that we have a food system. I would like to also welcome our community members, the leaders of the labor representative and agro-processors. More importantly, I will also to welcome and recognize the presence of our national senior government leaders and Minister Maitoko Titi's in absentia. And more importantly, as we are in the province, in the kingdom of the Zulu, would like to welcome and be feeling very home. This is my home, even though I'm based in Gauteng, but when we're in KZN, we know we have the best hospitality. And I would like to welcome also our HOD, Ubabu Spande, who will just call in the second, as well as our MEC and all the government officials in the province. Ladies and gentlemen, let me then recognize and give this opportunity to Ubabu Spande, the HOD of agriculture in the Kwazulu-Natal Province. Ubabu Spande, the floor is yours.
Ram Director, my network seems to be giving him a serious problem where I'm seated, and I will request that perhaps if you may allow me to switch off the video so that I can enhance my internet speed. I will really appreciate that. I've just moved in different places now to make sure that we have good access to the network. Do you mind if I switch off my camera?
I think, HOD, since we have seen you, you can switch off the camera.
Thanks a lot. Unfortunately, the one I'm using now does not have the image which I normally put on the Zoom. Chairperson, let me firstly take this opportunity to really appreciate this opportunity, and moreover, take this opportunity to really greet our farmers. We have around 250 farmers present, invited to participate. This in form of 20 per district. Sector departments, municipalities, parastatals, officials from the department, commodity associates and NPOs, farmers associations, Office of the Minister in her absentia. I must also extend another agent apology from our MEC, who indicated that they've been summoned to attend an agent meeting of the legislature, if I'm not mistaken, if not cabinet, and she humbly apologized for her absence. As such, one will be, because of the period in which we are in now is the last day of June, and there are a lot of activities. One will really like to welcome the members. I will be also, Chairperson, presenting the program on the MEC's remarks as well. And however, I want to just highlight that as Kwazulu-Natal, we are really grateful that there is this engagement that is currently taking place, and we will support the program in preparation for the September summit. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, HOD. Thank you very much for those opening remarks, and we duly take the sincere apology from the MEC. We do know very well that they work on a very tight schedule, and I think initial willingness to come and join us, it's already a symbol of how important the province is taking this UN food system. I would also like to thank Umam Vangile, the convener, the national convener of all the food systems, for really putting us to this farm and ensuring that every province has the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just also, before I bring back the HOD to give us the opening remarks on behalf of the MEC, to just inform that we do have the sign language services in place. We do also have the interpretation services for isiZulu as well as isiSotho. So those that will prefer to follow the program in those languages can just click on their device, and there's a button that has interpretation, and you can select your own preferred language. As such, I would like to also plead with all the speakers that will also follow on throughout the program to ensure that when they come to the podium, they do as best as using the English language, so that we don't have clashes in terms of with the IT system that is providing the interpretation. I will also encourage everyone, if they could switch off their mic as well as their videos, to assist us with the signal and the transmission so that we can hear properly. With those, I would like then to bring back...
Sorry to interrupt you. My co-interpreter, William Mtembu, his video is disabled by the co-host.
Okay, thanks very much, Kabelo. And then, Linda, can you please assist us with the other interpreter to ensure that we have all those services in place? We'll address that in a second. I see William is back. So I think that has been sorted. Thank you very much, IT. May I then ask the HOD to take the floor again and give us the opening remark on behalf of the MEC? Babis Banda, the floor is yours again.
Thanks, from Director. And once again, one would like to extend further the appreciation for this opportunity. As we meet today, from Director, meeting with our farmers, Kwazulu-Natal Food System Dialogue. The theme for the event is leveraging public-private partnership towards scaling up system solutions in South Africa during and beyond COVID. We're all aware that this initiative comes as a result of the United Nations convening the United Nations Food System Summit in preparation for the September 21 summit, and which is part of launching of a new action to transform the way citizens of the world produce and consume food, with an intention to contribute towards the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. As the province of KwaZulu-Natal at large and the country at large, as part of the global citizen, and which we are also contributing towards the production and the consumption of food, also contribute towards, we also contribute significantly towards finding solutions to the present day food system. Yet we have this dialogue today. Food system is multifaceted web of activities involving production, processing, transport, which most is highly commodity. What is important is that concerning food is highly traded commodity, and issues concerning the food system include the governance and economics of food production, sustainability, the degree to which we waste food, and how food production affects the natural environment and the impact of food on individual and population health. We know that most of the challenges we have today is around the immune system, and most of the population that we have, especially young people, the main challenge that they experience is obesity. That in the main compromises their immune. And also the lifestyles that we have now, where there's less activity, also has an impact in which society likes to take what is called a shortcut and have obsession towards fast food. It has become clear that more holistic framework is needed to address these complex issues, to help identify intervention points to enhance food security and the food system. The Commercial Department is part in this holistic approach, which mainly focuses on realizing investment in infrastructure to support on and off farm, the supply of production inputs, crop and animal production, agro-processing, mechanization support, agribusiness support, and deployment of human resource that we do through the availability of extension and advisory services. The state of food system in KwaZulu-Natal, as you have indicated in your opening, Chairperson, is not different from other provinces. We do have the issue serious challenges that needs attention around food affordability, food quality, the availability of food, and therefore the safety. It is concerned that in this day and age, our province and the people of KwaZulu-Natal, there are those that we still have reports that they go to bed without having any meal. And however, there has been strides to improve that scenario. The improvement have seen a record from 75 to 82% according to the general household. The improvement of people that have gone to bed with food. But there is still a gap to ones who fall under inadequate to severe inadequate, around 26% and 17.5% respectively. A decline is observed as well as the number of people with inadequate to severe inadequate for food, especially around eThekwini and Umkhanyabuti areas. The department, as illustrated in the GHS 2018 and 2019, as 11% and 9% respectively. Those are the people around the city of eThekwini who are really affected. As so indicated in the province, in the plight to fight food insecurity, looking in these percentages and also striving towards reducing the impact. Credits is to be given to all sectors, including in particular the agricultural sector, and working with the Department of Social Development. That over the years has contributed significantly to households' food production through intervention under Food and Nutrition Security Program. Thus, by establishing community social gardens to enhance household food security. Programs such as One Home, One Garden. We have got a program called Multi-Planting Season Program that provides mechanization services. Provision of extension and advisory services that we have adequately, as much as we want to have every ward with an extension officer. However, the numbers have in the past have improved. And in the recent years, with the support of the national government, we have seen an improvement in the recruitment of extension officers. Land care program, fencing of crop and grazing, and establishment of irrigation, livestock, water projects, thus looking at drilling of boreholes, dam scooping, commercialization of smallholder enterprise, investment in research and technology development, provision of veterinary services, establishment of small-scale mushroom projects, supporting households with fruit trees as part of the promotion of dietary diversity, supply of indigenous goods to household infrastructure development. Just a small reflection of what the department is doing. And that also assists significant in terms of how the province have moved to support household to secure food. In the last 2015 to 2020, we've seen 135,000 households accessing such infrastructure and support from the department. That alone in 2021, we've seen more than 24,000 households being supported through this program. In addition, Chairperson, it's very important that we sustain this project. However, what is most important with the advent of COVID, it has become difficult that small farming producers find it difficult to really move their supply and find market, especially in 2020. That has had an impact in terms of them generating income through their surplus production. We do have mechanization services for food production, as I've mentioned earlier on. The department, as I've said, supported 52,000 hectares for food production over the last 5 years, in addition to the 22,000 in the last 5 financial years. Over the 6-year period, a total of 73,000 hectares were supported by the Department for Food Production. This by supplying input as well as providing mechanization. And that also, notwithstanding the work done by National Department through the agri-parks and also their nodal infrastructure points, which then provides support to various farmers in the province. In response to government directive, the department is currently exploring means to improve on this and ensure that we up the tempo and provide adequate supply of services and provide quality service to our people to ensure that we maximize and optimize our resources to reach a number of communities. And in particular, also to focus in those metros like Mgungundlovu, those are the big cities, and the Table. As a result of urbanization, people find themselves without access to food. And as a result, we've got a lot of homeless and impoverished individuals lingering in the cities, corridors and streets. We also strive that key to advance our support. We want to focus in terms of supporting youth, women, and people with disability to be major players in the sector. The advent of smart agriculture in the sector, whereby new technologies driven by artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, quantum computing, will in the near future shape the manner in which farming is done. In this regard, a call on the youth to take leadership in agriculture, especially in agro-processing and other value chains, is key. It is against this background that the department undertook a provincial worldwide program to disseminate information to women and youth through a number of initiatives that the MEC led in the previous financial year and also going forward. We have recently upscaled our program, which is aimed at absorbing a number of unemployed graduates to gain practical experience in the sector. As a result of the COVID impact unfolding and rapidly devastating our economy in all fronts, it is important that, Chairperson, we really put our efforts together to make sure that we work as a team in all sectors, all stakeholders, that we guarantee our people food as they go to bed every night. Food and nutrition security is one of the real dimensions. Many households are affected by the lockdown, closure of businesses, loss of income for many families. Government interventions are applauded with an aim to cushion the most vulnerable among us, which includes the announcement of various social safety nets, such as increase in the budget of social grants and unemployed allowance. More still needs to be done as this remains temporary and short-measured. General COVID-19 could have an impact in the overall agricultural sector demand side of South Africa and abroad, given that the number of hotels and restaurants are really receiving a less demand, and as such, people are spending less time in social programs, which then creates more demand. And people are confined to their household, which will then affect the way in which our demand side is decreased drastically. In particular, we've seen the number of hotels that are set to close down and the manner in which restaurants are receiving fewer and fewer orders. COVID-19 pandemic has created uncertainty and disruption of the economic growth. In addition, food distribution channels could face some disruptions, from transport interruption, quarantine measures, which could cause an impact on staple food commodities. In dealing with the effect of the pandemic among those are vulnerable in our society, the department to reprioritize their budget so that more focus can be on food security. Farm workers and dwellers have appeared as one of the social classes that is hardest hit by starvation during this COVID-19. The department has come up with a program working with the Office of the Premier to focus in terms of how do we then support farm dwellers in this part as well. Population health is also key factor in addressing food challenges, especially nutrition-related chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and so forth. In particular, those are the diseases that normally affect young people, especially children. The province is set to invest in security and sustainability of its livestock and that of the farmers in KZN. And we have challenges in terms of stock theft is a serious challenge. We will enter into another partnership with the KZN Youth Entrepreneur in ICT to launch unique innovation in tracking system using tracking devices. In the light of that, we also want to deploy various interventions to improve our livestock farming in the province. And in terms of our crop farming, and we also have programs that would like to make sure that we improve our research centers, our science laboratory, to make sure that they improve in terms of finding, coming up with innovative solutions in terms of soil analysis, seeds that are compatible to various terrains, including drought-resistant seeds. These are some of the innovations that we want to deploy. In order to plan sustainable, equitable, and healthy food system for the future of the province, an integrated and innovative agricultural method and approaches from a range of disciplines, as well as effective interpretarial policy analysis and multi-stakeholder engagement are required. We hope that this session will commence to speak to the transformation and injustice experience in our food system as to correct the imbalances in these trial times that we're faced with. We do have one of the challenges in our front, which is the foot and mouth disease that is currently being experienced in the north part of the province. However, we must give assurance to our stakeholders that we are working tirelessly with the team to make sure that the impact is mitigated. However, that will take time and resilience and patience. Therefore, we ask our stakeholders to really work with us to make sure that we bring down the impact of the foot and mouth disease in the north. We do have other challenges, Chairperson, that we hope that working with the stakeholders around access to funding by our emerging farmers, which is a key, especially from the African community, in particular blacks, that the access to funding has been one of the challenges. And we hope that as we move forward, those are issues that we, through IDC, the minister launched recently, the funding that has been launched through IDC will assist our farmers in a great deal. We also must appreciate the minister's program that we have experienced during the COVID period. Programs such as the Presidential Stimulus Program and the PACY program, which is currently really assisting our farmers. It has really improved the manner in which we continue to produce food in our province. Let us all adhere to the presidential call to save lives by wearing our mask always and sanitize and wash our hands regularly. If you're among many people, keep your social distance. Program Director, let me thank you for this opportunity. It's not a good day, unfortunately. There are a lot of activities that are happening in our province and in our programs. I've also requested DDG Dlamini, who will continue in the panel, well vested with a number of issues, to really be part of the program, as one will have to mingle in between different programs that needs our attention. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, HOD, and thank you very much for that very, very insightful and very clear speech that you've provided. I think you have mentioned a lot of activities and a lot of initiatives that the province has embarked on to ensure that it builds these food systems. You've also highlighted some of the challenges that still faces you in the province, but also the very clear program that you have put on the ground to ensure those are being addressed. We also take note for your awareness in terms of other senior officials that are in present, which are well vested in terms of these programs, in terms of these challenges that you have highlighted. And we hopefully that they will play that participatory role in the breakaway sessions that we will do. Ladies and gentlemen, I could see the numbers have really increased in terms of our participants, and those that have just joined us, you are most welcome. I think it's one of those big provincial dialogues that we are seeing with the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I would like to then move us in terms of our program, where we it really, because this is a dialogue, so we really want to move to the space where now you have the platform where you could be able to give us in your lived experiences, in your different areas, in your terms of the value chains, across to what is your lived experience and what are your challenges, and how do you see really overcoming these? Because at the end, we want to ensure that we come out with practical solutions, and we ensure that we advise the leadership in the province together with the national policymakers and other industry captains in ensuring that the limited resources that they have at their disposal are channeled into the most optimal areas, or to ensure that we have a viable food system that is being upscaled and that is resilient beyond COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, we have brought you into the province one of the leading professors in the space of food systems, as well as food security in our country, who's been representing the country in terms of the academia, but also in terms of policy making, not only in the country, but also in the region, as well as in the international space. Together herself, working with our convener, Omar Vangi, have really put South Africa at the forefront as one of the models that will drive the food system in the continent. I would like to then bring in Professor Cheryl Hendricks to give us the insight in terms of what we will be unpacking in this track one, which is part of the thematic areas that South Africa has selected as part of their contribution into the UN food system. But while Prof is busy trying to put a slide, I'm seeing the hand of Nonhlanhla Joy. If Prof, maybe you can just give us a second and then we recognize Nonhlanhla. Nonhlanhla?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the chance. My name is Nonhlanhla Joy. I'm from Ungibe Farming Organics and Training Institute. I'm a small-scale farmer. I was listening as the previous speaker was actually addressing us. Food security is one of the most important, what called basic human rights. We as small-scale farmers form part of that a background that makes it possible for everyone to have food on their table. However, when it comes to the food systems in South Africa are not addressing the food security. And without food security, the food systems cannot be a good and working system. During COVID, we saw that. But we thought that with all the funding that was put in place after that, we were going to be able to move forward. But we are standing still because, one, the funding that is being put in place for food systems is not actually supporting the primary agriculture. Primary agriculture, if it is not supported, the secondary agriculture, which all the funders are willing to help, is not going to happen. So all I'm asking right now is that as we are doing all these analyses and everything, please, can we have something that is going to be designed with the small-scale farmers in mind, so that we all grow together, because we are the roots of the food systems. For now, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Nonhlanhla. May I ask Tapsile to just mute IT, if you could assist us there. Nonhlanhla, you are making very important points, and I'm hoping you will really reiterate them in even more details in the breakaway session that we'll have. What you have started is exactly why we're having this provincial dialogue, to ensure that those that we ought to support are actually at the center of our minds as our policymakers design these programs, design the support packages to address the very same live experiences you're speaking of. And we will be having those feedback sessions from the breakaway session, which will unpack these as part of the final package that will still first get into the eyes and the attentions of the provincial principals, and also be ensuring that there's a coordination with the national principal. So you are exactly at the right place, and we're hoping that you will take that active role in the breakaway stations. May I then bring back Professor Cheryl Hendricks to give us the insight, and we will take it further on the breakaway stations. Thank you. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sifiso. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mavangi, for the opportunity to present the overview. And thank you to the Honourable HOD for the very detailed overview of the provincial situation with regard to the topic that we're discussing today. So I'm going to give you an overview of this particular track as it fits into the United Nations Food Systems Summit, the background to why we are engaging in this process. So you form part of over 120 countries across the world who are holding these kind of dialogues to listen to people like you, Nonhlanhla, to hear what it is that can help improve our food systems for the future. So let me provide a quick overview in how what we're doing today links to the global discussion on this topic about ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all through the transformation of our food systems. So Action Track 1 is part of 5 action tracks identified by the Secretary General of the United Nations to link these components into the food system and to understand how we can identify the elements to make a change for the future. What the HOD presented very much resonates with what our preoccupation is with this particular action track. And that is how the quality of food that we buy and consume or eat today affects us, particularly in terms of our health, and how it affects us in future, particularly in terms of the environment. So what we produce and process and eat today affects us and our health elements and how healthy we are. We know with COVID that is very important, but also what we do today affects our future generations. So long after we're gone, we will be leaving the implications and the consequences of our consumption and production patterns today for our future generations, for our children and our grandchildren and their children. So Action Track 1 brings together 3 very important components that up to now have never really been discussed together. This is ending hunger and malnutrition in all its forms, food safety and inequalities. So the ensuring access to all people is what deals with the inequalities. And we know that we have a very unequal system in South Africa, and we have been doing a lot to try and address that. But we know that many of those problems are very complex and are also quite significantly large to deal with. So we have an opportunity to look at those inequalities and how we can use that acknowledgement of these in terms of designing interventions and programs that can help us to have more equal food systems in future. The food safety component in our country was very starkly highlighted through the Listeria outbreak. The HOD also mentioned foot and mouth disease. And I remember I grew up in the capital city of KZN in Pietermaritzburg. And I can remember the outbreak in 1998 of foot and mouth that really threw the province into a great deal of flurry. So when we talk about ending hunger, we talk about people who are starving. So at the very far extreme of food security, those people who just simply do not have food to eat, or who have had to reduce their consumption significantly due to constraints in how much food is available or how much money they have to purchase food. Malnutrition in all its forms refers to 3 forms of malnutrition that are acknowledged by the United Nations. The first is undernourishment, so stunting, underweight, and wasting, which I'll talk about a little bit more. Also, what we call hidden hunger, the micronutrient deficiencies that many people exhibit. So this could be iron deficiency, which is manifested in anemia. It could be various different components of minerals and vitamins that are not prolific in our diets. The other component that has entered the agenda with malnutrition is overweight and obesity. And we know that our country has some of the highest rates of overweight and obesity on the continent. And our government is doing a lot to address these issues, but we need to look at these not just as health issues, but as food system issues. So this action track tries to bring these three components together. This action track, which your province has selected and which the South African government has selected as one of three focus areas for the country, underpins the other action tracks that form part of the Food System Summit. So we will be dealing with consumption patterns. Action Track 3 deals with production systems. Action 4 deals with inclusive development and equitable livelihoods. And the other component that the South African government has chosen is Action Track 5, which looks at resilience and how we respond to the vulnerabilities from climate change through to food access in our country. As is mentioned, this action track speaks very loudly to human rights, to the fundamental human rights of the right to food, and in our constitution, that also includes nutrition for children, the rights to safe water and sanitation, without which we are not able to prepare safe food, or we may end up contaminating water sources for production, for drinking water, and also the food in our own homes if we don't have proper disposal of waste, be that human waste or even our food waste. It also includes the right to be free from discrimination, which talks very much to the elements that we have already heard about equality. One of the components that the rights also talks to is the right to an adequate standard of living, and this is where food security comes in. But all of us have a responsibility to care for ourselves, and government has a responsibility to step in situations where we're no longer able to provide for ourselves. So it's a two-way responsibility. The HOD has very eloquently explained the incidence of hunger and food insecurity in this province. We know that overall in the country and generally in the provinces, hunger and inadequate access to food has been dropping over time. But even in Africa, we are extremely concerned that COVID will reverse the gains that we've made in our country and on our continent. Africa has made enormous strides in this area over the last 15 years, but we are concerned that these may be lost due to the COVID pandemic. So you know that the HOD also very well addressed the proportion of people who experience inadequate food in your province, and it is relatively high compared to some of the other provinces. Also, in terms of the actual the cities, we know they're hotspots. Where eThekwini being one of them, where we do see higher rates of food insecurity than we do than we expected to see. So very often food security is portrayed as a rural problem, but it's not. It's also found in very poor urban communities, and particularly in marginalized groups. South Africa's nutrition statistics, as I've alluded to, are really concerning. Between 2012 and 2016, the number of children who were stunted increased in our country. This means that children are short for their age. And this amounts to 1 in 3 children in South Africa are stunted. You may be shocked to hear that this is very similar to countries like Malawi and Zambia, where the food systems are not that developed. The economy is not as advanced as South Africa's, but yet we see similar numbers of stunting in children. Stunting leads to long-term development challenges. It robs children of a future, of their potential to earn a livelihood, to break out of poverty, to be productive members of society. And that has a spin-off then for the economies, both in the community in which people live, the province, and also nationally. So it affects GDP. We have to break the cycle. And there are some very specific reasons why this happens, and we need to address them. In terms of severe undernutrition in children, the country has made significant strides. Between 1994, which was when we transformed governments, we've significantly reduced the number of children who are wasted, in other words, severely undernourished. So this is a good win that we have achieved. But on the other side of the scale, 1 in 8 children are overweight in South Africa. Over 2012, 2016, the numbers seem to have dropped, but as the HOD alluded, the context under which we live in COVID is going to possibly lose the gains that we had made over that period. This graph just shows us the overlapping challenges, and some research we did in Mkhanyakude showed us that you have underweight children and stunted children living in households where women are obese. So you have this coexistence of undernourishment and people having being overweight in the same household. So, and we also saw that by the time those children in that district that we surveyed were ready to enter school, those stunted children were already overweight. And that has many implications. Children can't run, play, be as active as they would be if they're carrying this extra weight. So we know that obesity is a fast-growing disease in South Africa. We know how it affects COVID. It's one of the key comorbidities and is very much linked with illness as well as death from COVID. So we also know that COVID is making it worse in terms of staying at home. Children are not as active. They're not participating in sport. But on the other side, many children have lost meals through not being able to access school meal programs with school closures, particularly in the hard lockdown components last year. But we also know that obesity is linked to poverty. It's not only wealthy people that get overweight. So the poor access to nutritious foods, particularly what we call nutrient-dense foods, and a large reliance on staple foods such as maize and pap, are the big problems that cause overweight and obesity. And this is worsened by the access to cheap processed foods. So these are elements we have to look at in our food system as the food system transforms from a less processed to more processed situation. We have to look at what is in those processed foods. So processing is not necessarily bad. A tin of processed beans is very healthy. It's just as healthy as the original, much cheaper in terms of cooking costs. But if you're going to look at packaged noodles, for example, you need to look carefully at what's in those food products. So we need to think carefully about what we're talking about, but we also need to appreciate the indigenous wisdom of many of our former food systems and how much of that we have probably lost in the process of aspiring to this Western diet, which is really not very healthy for any of us. So in summing up, the Food Systems Summit aims to identify what we call game-changing solutions. And I've been involved at the international level and would really encourage particularly officials on this call and those in the private sector who are wanting to make a contribution to look at the game-changing solutions that have been identified and that are being worked on as part of what we call solutions clusters to go forward. There's some very smart ideas there that South Africa could benefit from. And if you need help linking to them, please contact me. I'm willing to help you to find the website where to do with that and to link into the multiple discussions that are going to happen in the next 3 weeks ahead of the Food Systems Summit that happened, the pre-summit that happens at the end of July. So in this discussion, we're going to be focusing on how do we end hunger and malnutrition in all its forms? How do we ensure food safety? And how do we reduce inequalities by looking at how we transform food systems for the future? And how do we identify the problems, look for solutions, and then what we want to do in the groups is to identify who can play a role in taking this forward. So in the group discussions, the two groups will answer the same questions. We will look at what are the underlying causes of South Africa's and KZN's, in this case, perplexing context of hunger, food insecurity, malnutrition, and how do we deal with safety. So I've described this coexistence of undernutrition, overnutrition, even in the same household. And how do we deal with those issues? But how do we make sure that those situations are not perpetuated or continued through the food system? So we'll look at availability, access, affordability, what is nutritious and versus unhealthy food. And we'll look a little bit at seasonality, one of the essential components, particularly in child nutrition. Then we'll look at what can the country do to change the current context and make food systems healthier and more sustainable in the future. But we'll also look very specifically at the roles that stakeholders need to play. And when I'm talking about stakeholders, I mean everybody on this dialogue today. You and me play a very important role every day. We vote with our money, by taking things off the shelves in supermarkets, by paying at the tills, by what we put on our plates, by what we put in our mouths, that all votes in the system. So if we choose not to eat unhealthy food, it will become less profitable for producers to produce. But if we massify the production of unhealthy food compared to massifying the production of healthy food, we're going to change the game in which the food system will play in future. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to present the overview, and I'm delighted to take part in today's discussions. Thank you so much, and back to you, Sifiso.
Thank you very much, Prof. That give us some sense then how we will proceed further. I would like to then ask Linda to assist us in terms of breaking it into four, just to give, I'm looking at the attendance today, Prof, that is continuing to increase. Just to give a sense, when we launched this UN food system in South Africa at the national level, we have just over 400 people, and we are currently now sitting at 142. So that shows how much interest people also have in this system nationally, but more importantly, the attendance that is very impressive in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Linda, could you assist us then in terms of how we will break away? And in those breakaway sessions, we will have the facilitators and all the colleagues will have the discussant in present. I would like to also recognize the presence of National Acting Director General Ndadera Masood, who's amongst us today. Linda?